Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I am talking about volume number 3 in Kugane Maruyama's light novel series, Overlord. Now, slight spoilers for volume number 2, because I kind of have to discuss that in order to even give a little general synopsis of this volume. So, in volume number 2, we end on a slight cliffhanger. It's just like sort of a paragraph or so. And that cliffhanger is Albedo contacting Ainz and saying that there has been rebellion in the Tomb of Nazarich, which seems kind of odd seeing as how the sort of denizens of Nazarich, aside from Ainz himself, pretty much have loyalty to Ainz built into their very DNA, their very fabric of their personalities. So now we come into volume number 3, and about the first third of the book or so tells us exactly how it is that rebellion came to be and what the nature of that rebellion is. And then, of course, the final part of the book is how Ainz tends to deal with that situation. Now, I have to say right off the bat that I love this series so far. It is just enough of the little bit of silliness of typical light novels, slight little naughtiness and stuff like that, that it's just enough that it still feels at home in sort of your normal light novels, but that's really added in there just to provide a little bit of levity, because otherwise this series is dark and violent. Right? I think I tweeted out, I was like, okay, so I'm on page 43 and already there have been multiple dismemberments, disemboweling, and people dissolved in acid alive. And really, that's just the beginning of the book. This novel and this series in general, I really like how it's treating this whole whisked to another world type of thing, because it really changes the aspect of it that we have a main character who is not himself in this new world, which means that he has to learn not only about the world, but he has to learn about himself. And all at the same time, he has this pressure that he has these underlings that he feels obligated to take care of, but also has all these insecurities that if he fails them in some way, that they will turn against him, and then he will truly be alone. It adds a whole different dimension to this whole story, and I also appreciate that the world that Ainz finds himself in is not identical to the game Yggdrasil that he used to play, that in fact it's quite a bit different, and even him like being surprised and by the similarities as well as the differences, and having to be cautious about how he does certain things because he's not sure of what the outcome will be. And it adds a whole bunch of different dimensions to what otherwise I would say is starting to feel at times like it's a little bit overplayed. Now, in this volume, if we're going to talk about the volume specifically, this one is not really about the world building. In the first 2 volumes, we have Ainz taking this very sort of cautious approach to the world. He's really just trying to investigate it and figure it out. And he has this suspicion that perhaps others from our world have found themselves here before, perhaps even other players of Yggdrasil. And so it's really all been a fact-finding mission. And of course, while that's been happening, we follow him as he's discovering these things. And so it's kind of like a whole world building and fleshing things out and stuff like that. This one, I would say, dials that back a little bit. This volume focuses a lot more on sort of the more ancillary characters of the Tomb of Nazarich, which is a good thing because there are quite a few of them. Sometimes it seems like there's a hell of a lot of them, to be quite honest. So it was kind of cool in this one to see some of those people acting alone, not under the direct supervision of Ainz. It was cool to see sort of more of their personalities and their quirks, and how because there were these, you know, I think, was it 42 or 48 supreme beings, or basically the guild of Ainz Ooal Gown, because they each created these sort of NPC characters, it's interesting to see how those different personalities come through in these characters as well. There's also some really amazing, there's like a big, amazing Titanic battle in it, which, no spoilers, but it's pretty cool. But I think with this volume as well, it is about trying to up the pace and up the stakes. Up until this point, Ainz has been pretty powerful, like pretty OP. He hasn't encountered a lot of stuff that really gave him a cause to be overly concerned. Yes, he was being cautious, but he was taking his time. He was trying to get information, and he wasn't trying to make any really big, huge moves because he really wasn't too sure what his situation was. This volume ups the stakes. This volume presents a clear threat to Ainz, to the Tomb of Nazarich, and he finds himself now being far more driven, and I get the sense that going forward, the plans are going to get bigger, the battles are going to become more intense, that we're going to see even more of the, you know, occupants of the tomb getting involved in the story in a far more active and, given the nature of this series so far, bloody role in the whole story, which I think is going to be really awesome. Like, I have to say that having this character who is really an anti-hero in a lot of ways, who doesn't really moralize his decisions other than when it applies to his own minions. As it applies to everybody else that he encounters in the world, he really doesn't seem to give a damn. His whole drive and all of that is basically what benefits me, what benefits my followers, and if it means I got to wipe out everybody else, well, so be it. And there's just something so cool to me about a character who's like that. And I guess it's just because we don't see many characters like that in light novels. I mean, a lot of characters in light novels really do stick to moral decency kind of behavior. And I think that's mainly because a lot of light novels are written with the concept that the reader is to sort of put themselves in that person's shoes, or, you know, is really be able to relate to this character that they're reading about. That's why a lot of them, I think, sometimes are made very sort of bland, vanilla type characters, so you can kind of just insert yourself into all of that. But in this one, I guess maybe because the characters are so different and because the main character is so different, I really do find myself actually more engaged in the story, because I sit there kind of going like, what is he going to do next? What kind of, is he going to do what I would consider the quote right decision? Or is he going to go wholesale overlord evil on everybody's butt? And that's, yeah, it makes the series feel so fresh and different, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this volume. Like I said, it was kind of cool to spend a chunk of it, not even with Ainz, but with other characters, and seeing how they sort of behave and think. And of course, lots of really great action in the book, and moments that were just like, damn, type of battle type moments. And the way this one leaves off, yeah, I really don't have, I really don't think that things are going to slow down. In fact, I think we're in for some pretty epic battles in volume number 4. So those are my thoughts on Overlord Volume number 3. So we go from dark, violent, and bloody dark fantasy to, and swept away to another world, to let's make being dragged to another world as absolutely hysterically silly and stupid as humanly possible. Of course, volume number 1 of Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. That is going to be my next review, hopefully up in the next couple of days. So if you like this video, if you like the things I do on this channel, don't forget to hit like on the video. If you're brand new, subscribe so you can check out all of my future light novel reviews. And if you want to check out some of my old light novel reviews, I've got a link to those as well. So thanks very much for joining me on this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye for now.